manage your time. Manage your time. Don't go out there saying, I'm going to bust 16 miles a day or 18 miles a day, because no matter how fit you are, how young you are, 100, 150 miles down the road, you're going to blow out a knee or whatever. You're going to, it's like he says, like Rob said, spring training. It's spring training. Give your body the time, average 7 to 8 miles a day maybe for the first 3-4 weeks. And your chances of success will increase, 100-fold, really.
Sweet, man. Thanks for joining me here at we're at Outdoor 76. Kind of a strange environment for us to be in right now, but nevertheless super thankful for the people here. They do a lot for the hiking community, provide a lot of services. I know that during my hikes,
absolutely,
during my hikes,
yeah.
My first real hiking tent I purchased from here. But it's also kind of a rare encounter. I'm not at the hostel. We're down in Clayton, Georgia, which was recently designated as a Appalachian Trail trail town, community town.
Yeah, rightly so.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
so.
And so I just saw you right there on the side of the road. I was eyeing you down, looked like a thru hiker. You got the Crocs on or whatever those are, the camp shoes. So I asked you if you'd like to be a part of this interview. So let's just get started with some of the basics here.
Sure.
What's your name?
I was born, Ron Joffrey. My trail name is Cheeseburger. And of course, there's always a story to a trail name. And if you want to know it, I'll be glad to let you know.
All
right, sure. All right, Cheeseburger. I started out as Woonsocket. It's a small French-Canadian city in Rhode Island. And I met up with these two hikers, Jen and Sleeveless, who, by the way, 78-year-old female. And if she completes the trail this year, she'll have the record for being the oldest female to complete the Appalachian Trail. She did it in 2005, so kudos to Sleeveless if you see this. Hope you make it. But anyway, one day I'm hiking about, I believe it was like the second day I was with them. I was obsessed with having a cheeseburger. And the 6 hours that we were hiking that day, I must have said cheeseburger 20 times. So Jen, the younger Canadian girl, turns around and says, "You are no longer Woonsocket, you are Cheeseburger." And when we entered the camp that night, I mean, we had known a few of the hikers at camp, and both women just turned around and said, "You're Cheeseburger," and it stuck. So I am now Cheeseburger.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So
pretty cool.
You mentioned that she was 78, right?
Correct.
And earlier we're talking just a little bit. You mentioned that you're no spring chicken, although you don't look a day over 50, man. You are how old?
I'm 71.
71.
And I've actually met at least another 9 people in their 70s this year, and we're not even out of Georgia. So kudos to the 70s, the 70-year-olds. I guess we're hippies from the 60s, and we're still dreaming.
Yeah.
We're still dreaming.
Yeah. And you're out here in April, out of all months. It's mid-April right now.
Yeah. I started March 28th at Amicalola. And people out there who don't know, there's 604 stairs you have to climb to get to the beginning of the approach trail. And it's quite a feat just getting up the 604 stairs. I was wiped out. and I'm sitting up on top of the falls, and I'm sitting there for a couple of hours, and I'm saying to myself, my God, how am I going to make it to Maine?
Yeah.
But here I am so far. I've done 69.2 miles, and let's hope when I come back. And for those obviously don't know, a few days ago I fell 5 feet onto rocks, and I kind of really hurt my ribs. And so I hiked 11.3 miles from Trey Mountain where it occurred. I was determined to get to Dick's Gap so that I can go to Around the Bend hostel, and they in turn shuttled me to Hiawassee. I took x-rays. It's just extremely severely badly bruised ribs. So I will be going off trail for a few weeks to heal, but I'm coming back.
Gotcha.
I'm coming back. I'm doing this thing.
Dope. So you feel the sense of resolve and motivation to get back on trail? Is that something you
Absolutely.
strongly identify with?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the experiences, the camaraderie, it's an existential walk in the woods. It's just amazing, the psychological, emotional, not upheaval, but you're walking in this pristine, beautiful country, on this trail, and all of us living on this earth, we all build up this baggage, and we're so busy in the real world, just doing our life, just living life, raising kids or working 60 hours a week or whatever. You don't have time to process all the baggage that you accumulate over the years. And you'll be surprised that, just a few miles into the woods, where you have nothing to think about, but just putting one foot forward and looking at all this majesty around you. That it's happened to me 3 times now, that where I would just literally just stop, and the tears would just fall. And at first, I had no clue. It just came out of the blue. I was a little embarrassed. Why? Just the way I think it's just how it is. Guys get embarrassed for crying, but if any true hiker tells you that they've never just stopped or the tears didn't flow one day, I don't think that they're telling you the absolute truth, because I truly believe it's this existential trip. You have nothing to compete, nothing to prove, really. You're just walking every day, and it's the key. I really truly believe, it's walking this Appalachian Trail is the key to unlocking that luggage that lets all that baggage of life just escape. And believe it or not, you feel lighter.
Yeah.
Emotionally, physically lighter. Even though you've got 30 pounds on your back,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable how the weight
Yeah.
of all those emotions, of all that life, that life has thrown at you, just starts to dissipate. And it's just an incredibly moving experience.
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you feel, because I know you mentioned the word baggage a bunch, do you feel like because you're older and you have more baggage just by virtue?
Oh, just by virtue of having more days on this planet, absolutely. I'm sure I have more. Have I had a worse life than other people? Absolutely not. I've been blessed.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I've got 71 years of stuff that's happened. Life gets in the way. And again, I just had 71 years of not processing everything that has hit me. And this trail has allowed me to open up,
Yeah.
just to let whatever happens just happen. And the wonderful thing and the best thing I find walking the Appalachian Trail is at the end of your day, you come to a shelter or a campsite, and everybody just pitches their tent or whatever, and then you just sit around the campfire and you just start talking.
Yeah.
And the incredibly nice thing about it is that we're all going through the same thing. We all have the pains and the aches and the hurts, but we all have the same goal. And it's just a wonderful, I mean, you could have an 18-year-old, which has happened to me in certain instances, 18-year-old to a person who's older than I am, let's say 74, 78 years old, and we're all talking, and we're all listening, and we're all understanding each other.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely, really incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I mean, I think just another example of that is how I can just walk up to you off the side of the road and strike up a conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, because we have that common shared experience. I know.
Well, between you and I,
between you and me.
Yeah, I had no clue you were a thru hiker once before, and you thought I was, and I happened to be. But yeah, you're right. And I also have to say, the people, I mean, I'm in Georgia now, so I don't know the rest of the states, but the people of Georgia are absolutely wonderful. I love Georgia. I really do. I love Georgia. And the trail mat and the people are willing to help you without batting an eye. You know, I've heard stories from other thru hikers that they needed to go like 10 miles somewhere, and they just were happen to talking between themselves, and somebody comes by and say, "I'll take you."
Yeah.
I mean, you know, things like that don't happen in the real world, and it throws you off a bit. It's surreal, and that's why I'm saying it's just an existential trip that everybody should at least attempt.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they have the time, and that's it, right? Yeah, if you have the time.
Yeah. So, I'm particularly interested because before we had this talk, you mentioned that you're gonna have to get off trail for a while.
Correct.
You had a fall.
Right.
And I told you that'd be a great thing to talk about because let's be honest, real things happen.
Shit
real
happens.
Thing.
Yeah.
It happens
Yeah,
out
stuff
here.
happens.
I can't tell you how many times I've fallen on trail, and most of the time, man, it's just luck. You know, it's just a luck of the draw.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
I'm happy that you're not severely injured. I also do know that rib injuries are pretty crazy. You know, it just hurts to breathe.
It just let
alone hike.
And my big problem is if I could lay down and sleep, I'd be going. I would have already been 40 miles ahead, but I just cannot because it's too uncomfortable and painful. I have to sleep basically almost sitting up. So how do you sleep sitting up in a tent? I could probably sit up in a shelter. I don't know. But I think the best chances for me to accomplish, the 2,000 miles, 2,100, almost 2,200 miles, is just to go home and take 4 or 5 weeks to heal this, talk to my doctor at home, get his advice, and come back. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm coming back. I'm doing this.
I love your attitude. I love your resolve with respect to that. But let's just rewind to the actual incident itself.
Okay.
What were your feelings? What were your emotions going on at that particular time when you fell?
All right.
What were some of the things
I'll lead up, a few minutes or a few sentences leading up to why I think it happened. Is the night before I'm on Trey Mountain and it was raining and I got soaked, completely soaked. And unfortunately, I had no dry clothes. And it was maybe 28 degrees. On Trey Mountain, there's a lot of wind, So I had gotten up, I went to the shelter with the two women that I was hiking with. They were lucky enough to get there early enough, they had shelter space. So they were fine. So they moved on. And I just told them, I got to take a zero here just to try to warm up, which could have been a mistake also. Maybe if I would have just packed up, even though it was cold, and hiked, I would have warmed up a bit maybe. But again, hindsight, you do make mistakes. And I believe that was probably a mistake. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm in the shelter all day, trying to warm up, trying to get some heat in me. I had a small canister that I was trying to dry some clothes, and one of the girls that I was hiking with was kind enough. She had two. She had a larger one. She gave me one, which I think a combination of that and the fact that my sleeping bag was dry, I truly saved my life, because I was on the verge of being hypothermic. But anyway, that day, I set up my top to try as a windbreak, and I think I didn't get that much sleep. I think I was a little tired, and I was trying to step out of the shelter to do something, and I truly thought I had put my foot on this rock, and apparently I did not. Believe it or not, I thought I actually felt a solid ground building, and I didn't. And I fell, 4.5 feet, and very awkwardly on rocks. And I stayed there for a good 30 seconds thinking, oh my God, did I break them? Is this the end? And I moved, I breathed, it hurt, but so I stayed there that night, tried to get as comfortable as I could. Did not get that much sleep because of the pain.
Yeah.
But I was determined the following morning to hike 11.3 miles to Dick's Gap, so that I can get to the hostel, around the bend hostel. They took me the following morning to Hiawassee. I had x-rays taken, and it's just severely bruised ribs. But, right now I cannot hike because I can't sleep. So I think the best thing for me is just to go home for a while and come on back, which is exactly what I'm going to do.
Where's home for you?
Home for me is Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
So that's where I'll be on Monday. On Monday, Providence, Rhode Island.
Did you, prior to this, did you have any hiking experience?
Oh yeah. I've always I've done quite a bit of hiking. You would think I'd have a lot of experience. I have some, but you still again it's always a learning curve. But 20 years ago, I did do some of the Appalachian Trail. I did with a friend of mine. We did from New Hampshire, just south of Pinkham Notch. We started, and we ended up in Pennsylvania. And that day, 20 years ago, I said someday I'm gonna do this whole thing, and that day is now. And I've hiked in the Grand Canyon a few times, and a lot of times in New Hampshire I've done hikes. So I thought I had some, somewhat good, good experiences, but you're always learning.
Yeah.
You're always learning.
You're a man who seems to have a lot of determination. I can feel that in the
In certain
words.
things, maybe, yeah.
Well, at least it relates to this trail
Correct.
and your determination
Correct.
to do it.
Yeah.
Where do you think that emotion, that sentiment stems from? What's the driving force for you being out here doing this?
That's a damn good question. It really is, and you'll get 1,000 different answers. My motivation, I've always loved the woods. Ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I've always been in the woods. I love being in the woods. I really can't answer that truthfully. I don't, I just wanted to be in the woods. Yeah. And I thought it'd be a nice experience just to walk in the woods. Yeah. I know it's a very simplistic response, but my man, I have no overdriving, oh God, Appalachian Trail, let's do it. No, it's just, I knew of the camaraderie. I've experienced a little bit in the 600 miles that I did. Yeah. And I've watched videos, and I was just inspired by some of these people who determined to, I'm going to try to do this 2,198 mile thing. And basically, that's it. Now, once you're on the trail, the whole perspective changes. Yeah. As I say, the camaraderie, the existential aspect of it. But simply put, I love being in the woods, and I thought it'd be a cool thing, a cool ride for a 71-year-old man to walk. And that's it. It's a walk in the woods, and I've loved every experience I had. I know I hurt myself pretty badly here with the ribs, but it's a learning experience. And I truly think it's because I was nearly hypothermic. I was tired. I wasn't thinking straight, obviously, when I actually thought I had put my foot on something, and I didn't. So for those of your audience, you've got to be alert, and you've got to be damn lucky to make it all the way without any. You're always going to be hurt. You're always going to be tired. You're always going to be wet. You're going to be hungry. But something that will take you off the trail, you got to be very lucky and be careful out there. But again, the trail will always be there. For those of you who do hike and do get hurt enough that you have to come off, take the time. Take the time, go back home, rest it up, and then come on back. Because I think if you don't, you'll regret it.
Yeah. You talked about luck. There certainly, and I like your piece of advice there. Do your best to mitigate some of the bad luck.
Correct.
And put yourself in a position to have a little more good luck.
Right.
Right.
And basically, it's all mental. But try to stay as mentally alert and clear as possible. And number one, hydrate, food intake, and sleep. Yeah. Sleep. I mean, that's, and I think that's, my mistake. I was very tired. Yeah. It was just a very cold, rainy, wet night for me. And I didn't take enough care. This is important. I did not take enough care and making sure some of my clothes would remain dry. By double bagging, and I don't care what you have to do, make sure you've got at least some dry clothing. It sounds like, oh yeah, of course, common sense. But again, sometimes, you either rush because you want to get out of camp. It's you'll always have to be constantly aware and alert of what you're doing, but.
Well, that's good advice. And I also liked your response to when I asked you what the overarching kind of theme or motivation was to come out. And you know what? Not knowing or simply just wanting to be out here to experience.
That's it.
That's good enough because it's my belief that the trail will, at least to you reveal that, but the trail will reveal other things in time if there are things that you need to process, that you need to discover. Right. Because like you said, you have so much experience in life. And I think that's something that for all the things that we talk about with folks who are over a certain age, we talk about it like it's some kind of handicap. But really, I think, at least in my experience of talking to people who are older, who are out here, it's certainly a privilege. Yeah. Because you have the knowledge, you have the wisdom, the experience to one, kind of mitigate your risk because you know your body.
You're correct.
You have the sage wisdom and understanding to know your limits, but also to process all of those things that you have gone through before in life and to just simply just take it all in.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate Rob, who's one of the owners of Outdoor 76, expressed to a few of us a few days ago, manage your time. Manage your time. Don't go out there saying, I'm going to bust 16 miles a day or 18 miles a day, because no matter how fit you are, how young you are, 100, 150 miles down the road, you're going to blow out a knee or whatever. You're going to, it's like he says, like Rob said, spring training. It's spring training. Give your body the time, average 7 to 8 miles a day maybe for the first 3-4 weeks. And your chances of success will increase, 100-fold, really. And be careful when you're tired, because you're gonna make maybe a dumb mistake like I did. Again, it's a learning curve, but it's quite a ride. It's quite a ride.
Well, Cheeseburger, I have no no doubts in my mind. You get back out here,
I
you'll
am.
do just
I am,
fine.
my man. Yeah.
You're gonna back. You're
I'll be
just
all right.
fine. You're
I'll
gonna
be
do
all
this
right.
trail, and I'm rooting for you, man.
I
and
thank you.
I appreciate your time.
No problem. I'm
and
glad. It's an honor for you to ask me to be interviewed.
Thanks, man.
Thanks a lot.
Sweet.
Take care.
Cool.
All right.
That's that. That's a wrap.
All right. Well, I hope it went well.
Oh, that was awesome. That was.